If you saw me a few years ago, you wouldn't think I was rich. I lived in a small apartment with noisy neighbors. My car had a broken AC. I didn't come from money. I didn't win the lottery. And I definitely didn't build some fancy tech startup. But something changed. Not all at once. Slowly, quietly. It started with a few small habits. Things so simple, I didn't think they mattered. Writing a short email to myself. Changing who I followed on social media. Setting a 15-minute learning timer each day. These tiny actions didn't make me rich overnight. But over time, they did something bigger. They changed how I thought, how I made decisions, and how I handled money. Now, years later, I'm financially free. I don't worry about bills. I travel when I want. I work because I choose to, not because I have to. And here's the truth. It wasn't one big moment. It was tiny things stacked up day after day. In this video, I'll share the 7 small habits that help me build wealth. They're different, they're recent, and they just might surprise you. Ready? Let's begin. Habit 1. I started writing money emails to my future self. It started during a quiet Sunday night in 2020. I was tired, broke, and feeling lost with money. On a whim, I opened my laptop and wrote an email to myself. The subject line was, "Don't panic when the market drops." I didn't send it to anyone. I just scheduled it to arrive in my inbox 3 months later. That tiny habit changed everything. Every Sunday after that, I wrote a short message to my future self. Sometimes I talked about my money goals. Other times, I wrote about mistakes I made or how I felt about spending that week. It didn't take long, just 5 to 10 minutes, but it forced me to be honest. I couldn't lie to future me. After a few months, I noticed something strange. I was thinking smarter about money. I was calmer during bad days, and I was more focused during good ones. This habit helped me stop reacting emotionally with my money. Instead, I started planning with a clear mind. You can do this too. Use free tools like futureme.org, Google Calendar Notes, or even scheduled emails to yourself. In 2023, researchers found that writing reflective notes improves financial decisions by 29%.
Why?
Because when you check in with yourself, you stay grounded. It's not magic. It's self-accountability, and it works. One email at a time, I was becoming the kind of person who could handle wealth. Habit 2. I assigned every dollar an identity. I used to feel like my money disappeared too fast. I'd get paid, and within a week, it was almost gone. I didn't know where it went, and that stressed me out. For years, I tried to follow strict budgets, but I always gave up after a few weeks. It felt cold, boring, and too much like homework. Then one day, I tried something different and kind of weird. I gave my money personalities. Instead of just seeing numbers, I imagined each dollar had a job. My rent money became Sarah, a quiet, reliable friend who kept a roof over my head. My investment money was Jake, someone who worked hard behind the scenes, slowly building my future. The small amount I used for fun became Maya, who reminded me to enjoy life without guilt. This simple trick changed everything. I stopped feeling bad about spending, and I started being more careful with my money because I cared about what each dollar was meant to do. When I thought about taking money away from Jake or Sarah, it felt wrong. I didn't want to mess with their jobs. Over time, this habit helped me save more, invest better, and spend with more purpose. I wasn't just moving money around, I was building a little team that worked for me. It sounds silly, but it made my financial life feel more alive. And that made all the difference. Habit 3. I scan my environment, not just my expenses. For a long time, I thought my money problems were because I wasn't disciplined enough. I blamed myself every time I overspent or bought something useless. But one day, I read something that changed how I saw it. Most of our spending is not about self-control, it's about our surroundings. That idea hit me hard. I started to notice how many temptations were around me all the time. My phone had shopping apps just one tap away. My Instagram feed was full of people showing off expensive clothes, vacations, and cars. Even small things like a sale alert popping up while I was tired led me to spend money without thinking. So, I changed my focus. Instead of just watching what I spent, I started watching what was around me. Every month, I made one small change to my environment. I removed triggers that made me spend and replaced them with quiet reminders of my goals. It didn't feel like a big deal at first, but it made a huge difference. Without all those distractions, I started spending less without even trying. It didn't feel like a fight anymore. Once I cleaned up my space, both online and offline, my money choices got cleaner too. It wasn't about more willpower. It was about fewer traps. Habit 4. I became a 15-minute learner daily. I used to think learning about money meant reading big finance books or taking long, boring courses. But every time I tried, I'd give up halfway. I was either too tired or too busy. Then one day I told myself, just 15 minutes. That's it. No more, no less. So each day, I set a timer and learned one small thing about money. Sometimes it was how taxes work. Other times, I listened to someone explain investing in simple terms. It didn't matter what the topic was. The only rule was to show up for those 15 minutes every day. At first, it felt too easy. But after a few weeks, I started to understand things I used to avoid. I could talk about money without feeling dumb. I started making better decisions, not because I was guessing, but because I knew what I was doing. Over time, those short daily lessons added up. In 1 year, I had spent over 90 hours learning about money, and that made a huge difference in how I saved, invested, and earned. Habit 5. I held invisible accountability. One of the biggest changes I made with money didn't involve a budget or an app. It was all in my head. I started pretending someone was watching my money decisions, like a silent coach or mentor, always there. I gave this person a name, Chris. Chris wasn't real, but he was smart, calm, and good with money. Every time I was about to buy something, I would pause and ask myself, would I feel good explaining this to Chris? Sometimes the answer was yes. Sometimes it was no. And when it was no, I often stopped myself from spending. This habit made me more honest. I didn't feel like I was being judged. I just felt like someone I respected was keeping me in check, even if it was only in my imagination. Psychologists call this social presence. Research showed that even imaginary accountability can help people make better choices. I didn't need a real person watching over me. I just needed to feel like someone cared about the decisions I was making. That small trick helped me avoid dozens of impulse purchases and saved me hundreds, maybe thousands, of dollars over time. It was private. It was weird, but it worked. Habit 6. I invested in unscalable skills. Most people talk about making money from things that can grow fast, like stocks, real estate, or online businesses. But in the beginning, I didn't have money to invest. What I did have was time and energy. So instead of chasing fast money, I focused on learning skills no one could take from me. These weren't flashy skills. They were what I call unscalable. That means they didn't make me rich right away, and they couldn't be repeated easily by everyone. But they were powerful because they gave me an edge. I learned how to speak clearly in emails, how to ask for discounts, and how to understand contracts before signing anything. One time, just by sending a well-written email to a company, I landed a freelance job worth $12,000. Another time, understanding the fine print of a deal helped me keep the rights to my work, something most people overlook. These small, personal skills don't get talked about much. They don't go viral, but they help me make smarter choices, avoid costly mistakes, and open doors I didn't even know existed. In today's world, where everyone is chasing fast success, learning these rare skills made me stand out. Even now, they still pay off in ways I never expected. Building wealth isn't just about what you invest in, it's also about who you become. And I became someone who knows how to protect and grow money through skill, not just luck. Habit 7. I stopped measuring net worth and tracked freedom months instead. I used to check my net worth every month. I'd add up all my savings, investments, and subtract my debts. Some months it went up, other months it dropped. It felt like a roller coaster. I started feeling anxious instead of motivated. Then I learned a new way to measure progress. I stopped focusing on net worth and started tracking something called freedom months. It's simple. I asked myself, if I stopped working today, how many months could I still pay my bills? To figure it out, I took the total amount of savings I had and divided it by my monthly expenses. The number I got showed how long I could live without a job. At first, I only had 2 freedom months, then 4, then 10. Watching that number grow gave me peace of mind. It felt real because it measured time, not just money. More financial coaches are teaching this idea. It helps people feel safer and more in control, even when markets go up and down. For me, tracking freedom months made wealth feel personal. It showed me that money isn't just about numbers, it's about options, peace, and time. None of the habits I shared felt big when I started. They were small, quiet changes. Most of them took less than 10 minutes a day, but over time, those tiny things added up. Each habit slowly changed the way I thought about money. I stopped being scared of it. I started feeling in control. And little by little, my bank account began to grow. Not because of luck, not because of a huge paycheck, but because I was becoming the kind of person who could build and keep wealth. The truth is, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. Tiny habits, done daily, will always beat big goals that you never stick with. Money doesn't change overnight, but you can. And when you do, your results will follow. Now, if you want to learn how to achieve financial success, then watch this video next. If you made it to this point in the video, please like and subscribe to the channel to see more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.